Okay, we're back with What If History Started, now in episode 5. Last time, there was the second war between the Maroon team and Lilac team. This time, Blue team didn't get involved because they were kind of just done with having to essentially babysit these two countries. So, the two of them just fought it out. Maroon country was losing, but they got this Persian country to help them out. So, they won the war and split the Lilac country. But anyway, now in this episode, the rest of Anatolia is finally discovered, as well as a good portion of the Black Sea and its surrounding land. Not all of it yet, but most of it by this point. Well, maybe this isn't most. This is like 3/4. Anyway, Anatolia continues expanding out here, but there's also a second Anatolian country that pops up over on this coast. Well, what did I do? Okay. So yeah, they're there. They aren't enemies per se with the other Anatolian country, but they are just kind of in their way, so that's kind of annoying. And they kind of deliberately just go out of their way to stop this country from expanding. So they take all of like this land just so that Anatolia can't really get that much further. Obviously, this is really annoying. So Anatolia considers going to war, but they don't just yet, and they really don't have to, because a lot of the citizens in here are also don't like this because they feel like Anatolia is going to invade them now. So they tell the government to stop, and the government does listen. So they don't expand any further than this down on the border. So Anatolia is going to go out here a little bit more, but still, it's going to look really weird if they get all the way out here and it's like this. So they still don't like this, but it's getting a little bit better at least. Greece is not. Northern Greece, they can continue exploring, but they've been building up their military a lot, and so they finally do it. They declare war on Sparta, and immediately take over a lot of these islands. And Sparta's just completely unprepared for this, so there's not that much that they can do when Greece starts rolling in. They kind of beat them down to the border of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, so they aren't. This is too close in color. Hold on. Yeah, so they get them down there. They have some trouble getting in on the island or peninsula fully, but they kind of naively do manage to push on down from the north of the island or peninsula. Is it a peninsula or an island? I don't know, but anyway, they do finally take it over and they fully annex the country. Obviously, Sparta's gone. Greece is united under this one Greece, and they continue exploring along the Adriatic coast and taking the land up here. Kind of going into Dalmatia a little bit over here. By now, the Iberians are pretty aware of this whole country area's existence. Same thing with them knowing, Iberia. So both of the countries, well, this country and these countries, decide that they're going to go find the other one. So they both just do the same thing. They explore along the North African coast. They do eventually meet up, and now it's a lot more connected. But also, other than this, a lot of natives are in the European region, and there are some people who are leaving from the already established countries, and a lot of them are going into Italy. So there's sort of these Italian nations that start popping up. There's, first of all, there's this one right on this little bump. Obviously, they're a little bit bigger than that, but like this much. There's also another sort of Lilac country over in the more Roman area. And lastly, there's this orange, reddish, sort of rusty color country down in the south here. So these three Italian nations are pretty peaceful, but they do decide to finally, well, not finally, but they do decide to, meet up with other countries. It goes a lot easier over here because it's right here, but they do manage to connect up these sort of trade line over the Adriatic Sea, which also leads them to exploring all of this region. Greece even makes a little landing over here to take this southern tip, little thing of the boot. Over here, though, they send out their ship. They land on Corsica. They think that this is Iberia at first, but when they realize it's an island, they assume it's one of these. So they then go out. They don't bring that many supplies with them because they assume Iberia is going to be right next to them. But after sailing for a while, they end up getting nowhere, and they all starve to death. So, well, everyone's really confused now because they don't know what's happening. They just don't know that this entire thing exists. So that's a little bit of an issue. But anyway, China, I don't know why I'm over there. China, like I said last episode, people really like Korea for some reason. So there's a lot of exploration over here. Pretty much the entire peninsula is found, and they do take the majority of it. Well, yeah. One new major city is going to be founded on Iberia, or not Iberia, Korea. Right over on this North Korean thing, kind of near Pyongyang. I think that's right there. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But anyway, China's still looking big. They do explore a little bit over here. Not too far, though. Blue Team has not done that much recently. They do start, expanding again. They take over a lot of this Black Sea coast, as well as some of Crimea, as well as just slowly, very slowly, pushing up into the Caucasian region, beginning to explore around on this eastern coast. Over here, though, some people in the Blue Team decide to make their own country. So they walk out here. They find this lake. I think this is the Aral Sea, actually. So yeah, they explore around it. That's not right. And they just find the entire country. They put up their nation on this side because they don't want to have to deal with being close to the Blue Team. So now they're here. Over in this sort of central Anatolian region, none of the surrounding countries really want this, and there's barely anyone living here. So it's just kind of this weird empty area. This guy does expand a little bit, but it's not that major. Anyway, Anatolia does make a small expedition over here into Thrace, but Greece sees this and kind of gets threatened, so they push over and take it. We'll take a lot of this land over here. From there, though, things don't go too well. Cyprus expands a little bit more into the Anatolian region that's unclaimed, but this is very obviously there's no development in this land. None of it's really that useful. And their eyes are really set over here on this already pre-civilized land in Anatolia. So, obviously, if you couldn't tell where this is going, they push up, take over a lot of the southern coast. Yeah. But now Greece sees this, and now they don't want Cyprus to get any of this, because then they're worried that Cyprus is going to get complete control over this eastern part of the Mediterranean, which is where a lot of, definitely the most active trading is happening. So this is a very important area. Just sort of this part. They want to be the more dominant power over here instead of Cyprus. So instead of helping out Anatolia, they decide that they're just gonna do the same thing essentially, and they start pushing in. So poor Anatolia just got absolutely jumped, and yeah, it's not great for them. Why is this doing that? Oops. We'll just say that's that. So, nope. Sure. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, Greece is expanding, and Cyprus. They aren't on the same team, but they aren't like officially at war. They're just scrambling to see who can take this country the fastest. It's pretty weak, so Cyprus is able to quickly take the capital. But Greece gets all of Thrace and the Sea of Marmara. They then start pushing up into this northern area. The other Anatolian nation also starts pushing in to try and get some land. But then Greece just starts going after them, too. And then the people here get pretty unhappy with how the government's handling this. So then they try to revolt to overthrow it. Anatolia's just completely spilled over into chaos right now. And these revolting areas are a lot stronger than the actual government, which is kind of sad. So they were able to take the capital pretty quickly. Meanwhile, over here, though, Cyprus has slowed down a little bit, but they do manage to take a lot of this southern area. And then this is pushed out, obviously. The rebels take over the entire country, overthrow the government, make the country their own, and exit out of the war. They just let Greece have whatever land they took. And so then Cyprus and Greece just continue splitting this nation till eventually it's completely cut in half. However, their troops are going to keep fighting in the remains of this country, with Greece pushing down over here. Cyprus wasn't expecting it. They thought they were just going to split it, so they caught pretty off guard. They try expanding over here to cut them off, but this gets stopped. Greece considers expanding into Cyprus, but when this actually happens, a lot of the civilians here start pushing them back, so they realize that was not a good idea. Instead, they just reclaim all of the land that was part of Anatolia. Past that, then, the two countries finally agreed just to have peace, so they just split it pretty normally. And we're going to look at the peace treaty now. So, yes. So, obviously this country is a thing now. But anyway, Greece just annexes all of this coast. They don't really care about the inland part, since, remember, the whole reason this war is happening is just to prevent Cyprus from getting control over the Mediterranean in the east here. So they don't really care about what's inland, just the coastal regions. They now have all of this, which is a lot. Very interesting borders. And they take this. Cyprus would take the rest of this, but that's going to be too hard for them to manage. So they definitely get the short end of the stick here. They take all of this land. Maybe not this. They do also expand up a little bit into the unclaimed region. They also do manage to convince this team to give them this. And this team actually does, release this just to the tribes, because this was just kind of some weird petty barrier for Anatolia. Greece also does take the tiny bit of land they conquered from this country. Other than that, though, Anatolia just collapses. And so now this is the border. And so, with that, over here, they're finally going to be able to figure out what happened and realize that there's more Mediterranean than they thought. So, Sardinia also, now that they know this isn't part of Iberia, they turn this into a nation, another sort of kingdom. And yeah, over in Italy, this part of Greece feels kind of abandoned, and they feel like Greece abandoned them for practically nothing, just to fight some weird war. So they decide to also break off, form their own country, and they take all of this peninsula, mini peninsula on a peninsula. You could even say Europe is a peninsula. It's a peninsula on a peninsula on a peninsula. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. Obviously, the main thing that happened was just that war. But over here, Cyprus and Greece have very quickly become Cyprus and Greece have very quickly became rivals. And anyway, but last thing we're going to do is power rankings. So China is still in first, but their lead has actually gone a little bit smaller. Second place would be the blue team. And then Cyprus and Greece are essentially equal, but Greece is slightly ahead in third. And so Cyprus is fourth. Not Egypt. Iberia is fifth. Oman is sixth. Egypt is seventh. Lake Country is definitely fallen behind. They're eighth. Well, I think that's fallen behind. I don't really remember. Maroon team is ninth. And brown team is 10th. So yeah, those are the top 10 most powerful countries currently. Yeah. I'll probably do a power ranking every 5 episodes, so next time will be episode 10. But with that, that's going to be the end of the episode. This is how the world map's looking, and goodbye.